Hello, and welcome to this LinkedIn Live session where we'll be giving an update on APM's refresh strategy, where it came from, our strategic development process, what it looks like now, and how we've started to implement the plans we've made. My name's Mark Hepworth. I'm the Deputy CEO of APM, and I work closely with the board in developing our refresh strategy. And with me today is Debbie. I'll let her introduce herself.
Thank you very much, Mark. As you can see, my name's Debbie Lewis. I've recently completed a 2-year tenure as chair of the Board of Trustees of APM, and for several years now have been a member of and latterly also chair of the Professional Standards and Knowledge Committee, PS&K, which is a subcommittee of the APM board. I'm a lifelong advocate of the power of project management, and for probably the best part of 2 decades have also been a practicing project manager myself.
Thanks, Debbie. So we'll get into the meat of our presentation today. So why did we refresh our strategy? Some context might be useful here. We believe that the project profession has never been more important. The world is both changing and challenging, and the environment for project delivery is without doubt complex. Project professionals are at the forefront of delivering in the face of change or delivering change itself. In this environment, the profession needs clear, consistent leadership to build the profile it warrants, challenge the status quo where it matters, and set the highest standards. Our strategy reflects our roles and responsibilities as the chartered body for the project profession. Since the introduction of our last strategic plan in 2017, we've achieved many significant milestones. But in that time, the world has also experienced significant challenges. To respond to a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment, we must continue to adapt and evolve. Through continued innovation and flexibility, we can build on our current strengths and enable the project profession to deliver positive change for individuals, businesses, and communities. As we worked through the strategy development process, it became clear that we've been on the right path with so many positive achievements over the previous 5 years. The work of the board was therefore focused on helping APM to continue to develop rather than radically change direction. So that's why we're referring to the latest iteration of our strategic plan as refreshed or evolved rather than new, as we want to continue to build on those strengths. I'd like now to pick up on some of those successes from our previous strategy. The year ending last March was the final one of our 5-year strategic plan, Inspiring Positive Change. We achieved nearly all of what we set out to do across this horizon and much more besides, while also navigating one of the greatest disruptors in modern times, which created, shall we say, challenging business and operating conditions. Over this time, we successfully developed and launched the Chartered Standard, and we should reach 3,000 CHPPs this year. The standard is recognised as a mark of distinction in the profession, and its reach is continuing to grow. We achieved significant membership growth with a volume increase of over 60%, exceeding our target in just 3 years. And by promoting career opportunities in project management in schools, colleges and universities, our student numbers have grown from 1,400 to around 11,000 strong now. We've built strong relations with our membership, with a thriving network of branches and specific interest groups. They help to shape our profession and raise its profile and give us an understanding of what's important to our members. We've delivered practical, relevant knowledge and research, of which dynamic conditions for project success and understanding agile in project management are just 2 recent major pieces of work. In February this year, we hosted our 2nd Education and Research Awards, demonstrating our commitment to recognising excellence in project management academia, education and research. We use our research and thought leadership to raise our profile as the voice of the project profession. Organisational innovation has been key to our success and has involved developing new ways of engaging with stakeholders, most notably in a virtual environment, and more generally seeking technological solutions to optimise our operational delivery. For example, we moved qualifications to an online platform in 2020. We've provided networking through the APM Hub community platform, and we developed an online solution for tracking continuing professional development. And in the past year, we launched a new qualification, the Major Project Leadership Specialist Certificate, and developed a mentoring program in response to overwhelming member demand. And we're proud to say that we're listed in the Sunday Times Top 100 nonprofits to work for. Thought it might be useful to give a sense of how we went about updating our strategy, as well as taking a good look at what we were doing and how we were doing it, and what our operating environment looked like. We also took time to listen to some of our key stakeholders to make sure we were on the right track. We canvassed members in our annual satisfaction survey with specific questions around strategy. We talked to our corporate advisory group and to volunteers, and our trustee board members brought both their own expertise and input from their networks. And we had some great feedback from staff as well. We had a wealth of accumulated information to input into the process. This included insight from our members, other organisations in our field, and wider stakeholder groups. We're also in regular contact with our accredited training providers who provide a view of the operating environment for our qualifications. We also sought the views of experts in specific fields like future visioning, and our own research already incorporated the views of the wider profession, which was invaluable in understanding the environment we might expect to be operating in. Put together with some introspection, all of this helped us to assess where APM could build on its successes and which areas we should focus on to continue supporting the project profession in the future. And now over to Debbie for what our strategy now looks like.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to talk to you today, albeit briefly, of course, on APM's refresh strategy. Mark has just talked about the drivers of that strategy and the process that we use to refresh. In that process, the expectation from my fellow trustees around the board table and from the stakeholders that we engaged with was that the refresh strategy wouldn't be a major step change, but it would be a natural evolution of what we already had in place. And that has proved correct. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't some new focuses in the strategy. And I think, as you'll see in a moment, a couple of those focuses for me are about facing forward as an organisation and about being as progressive as possible. Any strategy, of course, is not in isolation. It's in a context of a strategic framework. And you can see on the graphic here our strategic framework. So the strategy is in the context of an organisational vision, which hopefully a lot of you are familiar with, and a set of charitable objectives, which are, of course, advancing the science, the theory, and the practice of project management for public benefit. And a recently reset set of values for the organisation. So an organisation that's progressive, that's warm, that's thoughtful, and of course is excellent. As Mark has described, the external environment that we now operate in as practitioners has, of course, changed an awful lot since the previous strategy was set, probably almost 6 years ago now. We've had and continue to have the COVID experience. We've got some very interesting and challenging economic and political changes in the environment, as well as a changing definition of what it means to work, how we work, and indeed where we work. So change, of course, is a watchword, and it's a key influencer in the work that we did to refresh the strategy. But it's fundamentally driven by the ongoing need to ensure that us project professionals can be as successful as possible, that we've got access to the most relevant knowledge, we can build the right skills, and we have the right tools available to us to be, as I say, as successful as possible in the dynamism of all that change. As you can see in the strategic framework, 4 strategic theme areas emerged from the work we did with a huge spectrum of different stakeholder communities that were engaged in the process. And those themes are: APM provides leadership of the organization, of the profession. APM is a professional body for all project professionals. APM identifies and enables the right skills for the project management community, and APM is an outstanding professional body. So it's about leadership, it's about inclusivity, it's about the right skills, and it's about that outstanding professional body. And in a changing and increasingly challenging world, we believe, I certainly believe, that the project profession has never been more important, and project management is the enabling function. And these strategic themes are there to provide a direction, a compass, as it were, to underpin how we will adapt and evolve as project management practitioners, and how we can be a community that can actually thrive in all of the complexity that we're experiencing. So what I'm going to do now is step briefly through each of those 4 strategic themes and flesh them out in a little bit more detail for you. So if we go to the next slide, the first of the 4 themes is APM provides leadership of the profession. And this has got some sub-themes to it: leveraging chartered status, having the right partnerships, and being progressive. Let's look at those in a tiny bit more detail. So leveraging chartered status. That, of course, by definition, is about raising standards, because chartered is, of course, a recognition of knowledge and experience. But it's not just about setting the standard, it's about having the right routes to achieve that standard. And of course, we are the only chartered body for project management in the world. So it's an opportunity that we need to leverage. And where project managers are needed, then there being chartered project managers should be the standard that organizations require. So that's leveraging chartered status. This theme is also about having the right partnerships, and this is an ecosystem of partnerships and an ecosystem which is dynamic. It changes with time. We bring partners in, partners move out, and we manage that ecosystem appropriately. And that ecosystem of partnerships, those partnerships are there not just for shared benefit, but also to share risk, and also for me to enable as strong as possible advocacy of APM as a professional body. And the third and final sub-element of this strategic theme is about being progressive. It's about APM providing leading insight and having the reputation as a professional body for doing that. So that's the first theme. APM provides leadership of the profession. If we could move on to the next slide. This is now a theme about APM is a professional body for all project professionals. And in this theme, we recognise that project professionals do a range of roles. You might be a risk manager, a benefits manager, a delivery manager. You might not actually immediately identify as a project manager as a label. But as a professional body, we should be appropriately inclusive for all of those roles. Also, that inclusivity means that we need to ensure value through the offerings that we provide as a professional body for everybody in our community. So that's the second of the 4 strategic themes. APM is a professional body for all project professionals. If we could move on to the next slide. The third strategic theme is that APM identifies and enables the right skills for the project professional. And this is the theme where I think we see some new elements relative to the previous strategy. And these new elements come in our approach to technology, our approach to the adaptability of project practitioners, and project management careers. Let's go through each of those 3 things. So utilising technology, I mean, that's really obviously about evolving digital learning, and evolving that for different learning needs and making it easy to access and easy to navigate. But in this sub-theme, it's also about helping us as practitioners to understand the impact of technology on the projects that we manage, and also the way that we manage them, how it may provide new tools for better project management. Enabling the adaptive project professional is in this strategic theme. And this is particularly pertinent to that VUCA, that volatile, uncertain, complex, etc. world that Mark described. Now, you could challenge here and say that project professionals have always had to be adaptable, and I'd absolutely agree with you. But I would say that, and this strategy refresh helps us understand that actually we do need to strengthen our competencies in this complex environment in some key areas. And for me, some examples are flexible leadership. And I think that's a key differentiator often between successful and unsuccessful projects. So it's about competence in flexible leadership. It's about resilience, which includes personal resilience. And it's about behavioral change management and about collaboration. So through this strategic theme, we'll be looking to help project professionals become more adaptable and enhance skills in those example areas. This theme is also about supporting all types and all stages of a project professional's career. The reality is that career expectations are very different for more recent generations, certainly than my generation. And expectations can include things such as hybrid careers, movement from adjacent disciplines, career breaks, and part-time working. And as such, we need to support members and have them maintain a relationship with APM through all stages and all types of a career in project management. And finally, this theme is also about sustainability. Sustainability in both what we do, but also how we do it as project practitioners. Asking questions such as, are you delivering sustainability through your project deliveries? And are you actually, as a project manager, delivering in a sustainable fashion? Next slide, please. So the fourth and final of the 4 strategic themes is APM is an outstanding professional body. And this is about having the right skills within the organisation itself. It's about having highly engaged and motivated employees, but also volunteers, because volunteers are of fundamental importance to APM and its success. And we want those skills and we want that engagement such that we are an exemplar professional body and we are benchmarked as such. We've got amazing advocacy from others, and the value that we deliver through our professional practice is unequivocal. It's well understood. So those are the 4 strategic themes. Before I hand back to Mark now, I just wanted to reiterate that project management is a key enabler of change, whether that's delivering a societal benefit, a business benefit, or a positive economic advance. Some such changes are needed now in the world we currently live in more than ever before. And that's why our refresh strategy faces forward, and it aims to be as progressive as possible. As the title of the strategy says, delivering a better future, and that's a better future for everyone through truly excellent project management practice. Thank you. Back to you, Mark.
Thanks, Debbie. I think that really helps to put the context of the different themes of our strategy to the fore. We launched the strategy publicly in June, and since then our business planning cycle has turned some of those themes into actionable plans, although clearly there's a lot to achieve over the next few years. I've picked out some of the areas which we've already started to work on, which will hopefully give you just a flavour of what's to come. We want to drive uptake of chartership such that chartered project professional status is viewed as the de facto standard by employers in both the public and private sectors. And I've seen there's some comments in the chat about that, and we can pick those up afterwards. Having launched it 5 years ago, we want to make sure that it continues to meet its aspirations and remain relevant. So our first step is a review of the standard, a process which we've just started. And we want to measure that relevance, so we are commissioning research into its value, which will help in discussions with government, employers, and other stakeholders. We're also proactively engaging with higher education institutions, businesses, and other organisations to establish additional recognised assessments to chartership, which will help to grow the number of CHPPs. We want to build relationships with influencers and organisations, both within the profession and beyond, to increase reach with diverse audiences, and to enhance the voice of the profession by ensuring APM is better known within political and external fields. Our CEO, Adam Bodison, has been out meeting with a wide range of key people since he started with us last year. And we've made some internal structural changes and recruited a Director of Communications and External Affairs earlier this year to support that endeavour. To ensure we remain an outstanding professional body, we put a lot of effort into staff engagement and recognising the importance of our volunteer community. We are currently looking at how we can enhance these relationships to ensure we are all working towards a common goal and maximising the impact of volunteers. We want to make sure that our learning offer is right for those in the profession, so we're taking a critical look at our current qualifications, particularly the project management qualification, to ensure that they're relevant and accessible. In the future, we'll be looking to extend our specialist certificate offer and see what we might be able to do for non-linear career entrants or returners to the project profession. And we aim to make the best use of technology to support learning, with one of the first steps to map out how our learning experience could be presented in more helpful ways. So we're continuing to adapt and evolve to support and lead the profession in challenging but exciting times. Clearly, there's much more to it than the time today allows, but we'll continue to give updates on what we're doing in multiple formats and demonstrate how this benefits the community of project professionals. And so before I wrap up, is there anything else you want to add, Debbie?
Just coming off mute there, Mark. No, nothing at this stage, thanks, Mark. I'm having a little look at the questions, and I know we're about to dive into those.
Okay, well, so hopefully we've given you a sense of how our strategy is evolving, and you've seen some of the things that we're just in the process of starting to do. It's great to see that there is a wide representation from around the world. I'm seeing India, various countries in Africa and Europe, as well as from the UK. So thank you for joining us today. There's questions here about chartered, particularly about how that might relate internationally, and given the international feeling we had, Debbie, I wonder if there's something you want to pick up there.
Yeah, I noticed a couple of comments there about firstly the royal connotation and the relevance of that outside of the UK. Chartered is a recognition of a relevant and a high standard of project management practice, a benchmark of that best practice. And yes, of course, it does have a royal connotation. That's through the process of the assignment of the recognition of that best practice through the Privy Council. But I think we shouldn't get too hung up on that. It is, by definition, a recognition of a high level of both knowledge and experience in any practitioner. The process that delivers it is here in the UK, the chartered recognition process. But I think we should focus less on perhaps the royal connection there and understand that through that process, it delivers a benchmark that is recognised across industry, especially in the UK and the Commonwealth countries. But there's no reason why that recognition can't come beyond those particular geographic boundaries. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Mark.
No, I think that's a great response there, Debbie. There's also been a comment here about that at the moment it seems that we're not yet the de facto standard recognised by employers, although there was a reference to the Infrastructure Products Authority does refer to chartered. how can APM lobby to change that understanding and inclusion? And yes, we are 5 years into chartered qualification now, and I think it's having got say nearly 3,000 chartered project professionals achieving that standard now. This is where we have that ability to move forward with that. We are really increasing our engagement with employers and profession and government in the UK and internationally, and it's one of the reasons that the board recruited Adam Bodison as our CEO, really to drive that external engagement. And whilst it's early days, I think we've given some indication here that we are keen to build those relations and to make chartered and our other qualifications a real force in the profession. Anything on that, Debbie?
No, nothing additional on that. I was just looking down the list of comments and questions. There's latterly, I think it's the last one, a comment, a question around the relationship between APM and other professional bodies such as PMI, I guess IPMA as well on an international perspective would be included there. And absolutely, as the questioner suggests, we are looking at ways to best collaborate with those organisations for mutual benefit. They would be absolutely key players for me in that ecosystem of partnerships that I referred to when covering the strategic themes. We are looking at ways to jointly research, and we are looking at ways to engage other organisations in the chartership process for mutual benefit. So watch this space. I think there's a lot more opportunity there for us to collaborate on a truly international basis.
That's right, and clearly we are do maintain relationships with those organisations at a senior level.
On a very ongoing basis, yeah.
Absolutely.
And getting closer working relationships on a monthly basis. I think Adam's doing a great deal of good work there. I mean, perhaps if I take the opportunity to just mention ever so briefly, a common question I get in these sorts of fora, which is about APM's international aspirations. I think I'm right in saying that only about 7% of our membership is outside of the UK at the moment, and absolutely we would look to grow that. The reality, of course, is that there's an awful lot of complexity in being successful at scale, i.e. internationally. Some organisations are able to do it, but it's very resource hungry and quite costly. And there's a lot of complexity in the practicality on a country by country basis. So the APM strategy has embedded in it an intention to look at our ability to be more international, but to grow that on an organic basis, as and when we can be successful. And there can be mutual benefit for the communities that we engage in. And it will be very much through some of those partnerships on an international basis that Mark and I have just alluded to. So international, yes, very much on the agenda, but it's not a big bang approach. I don't think that would be successful. It's a slowly organic partnership-based approach.
Thanks, Debbie. I think we're reaching the end of our session today, so thank you for your attention and some great comments and questions. We'll continue to respond to any comments that get left here. Please do have a look at information on our website. That's apm.org.uk, where there's also a copy of our strategy in a PDF format. So I think that gets us to the end today. Thank you all, Debbie.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.